This is John Seiler with Behind the News. Sad day I'm coming to you this time. This is my second podcast. And yesterday, as I'm sure you heard, Charlie Kirk was assassinated, political assassination in Utah. He's a fine young man. I really liked him. He was just a really good person and a conservative activist. And I'm calling this Behind the News and because I'm doing this Behind the News. And they played it straight today, the liberal papers. Wall Street Journal, conservative activist Kirk shot to death. And New York Times, GOP influencer shot dead in Utah at a campus event. He was just a fine young man. He leaves behind a wife and two children. Wife was Miss Arizona a couple years back. And just imagine those kids growing up without their father. I can't imagine it. Can't imagine that. And just think too of the courage of this young man. Just 14 months ago, Trump was shot. He was really close to Trump, so he's affected by that. And anybody in the public eye could be shot. That many in America, and to go out there day after day. And this was a reasonable young man. He was always reasoning with people. In fact, he was shot apparently when he was discussing the trans issue. I think it was with a student. He had this thing where if you disagree with him, come up and he'll talk about it. That's what we know more needed in our country, in our democracy or our republic. And he also was really good with telling young men. He had this thing called "Man Up," where he said, get a wife and some kids, support them, be the provider and the protector, support everybody, do all that, because a lot of young girls aren't doing that nowadays. They're just flaking out, playing video games or whatever. And so he was really good on that. And another thing he was good on was saying that we shouldn't be like Europe. Europe is a tyranny now. All those countries over there, the wonderful countries where our country originated from, especially England. We speak the English language. Our Constitution derived a lot from the English law, and they don't have freedom there anymore. If you post something on the internet, on social media about how you don't like something going on there, like all the immigration problems, they put you in jail. It's amazing. And another thing he defended was gun rights. A little bit ironic, but in England and the other countries in Europe, they don't have gun rights. They don't have guns. If you don't have a gun, you're really not a free person. I was saying about the Second Amendment, which guarantees our right to keep and bear arms. Second Amendment, first freedom. If you don't, doesn't mean you individually have to own one, but in general, people have to be able to own them. Otherwise, you really can't defend yourself. And one of the people commenting was AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, representative from New York, and she said, "Oh, it's the guns, and we had the Minnesota killing at the Catholic Church of those kids, which was by guns too. But and we have to ban these assault weapons, and assault weapons really are just mean-looking rifles. And apparently, in this case, I was just reading the news. There was a bolt-action rifle used in killing Kirk, a bolt-action rifle with a scope, which is not even by the broadest definition an assault weapon. You have to put a new bullet in, or rather chamber the rifle each time. There's a magazine underneath usually, but so you can't just go and spray at people like with say an AR-14 or rather AR-15 or an M16 is an automatic weapon like you have in the military, like I had in the Army years ago. And so she's just ignorant about that. You could never ban all the guns. And I always ask gun controllers, well, there's 500 million guns in America. How are you going to ban them? So unfortunately, we have to put up with these assassinations. It's just, and the best thing is to cool down the rhetoric on a lot of things. That doesn't mean to have easy opinions. I'm not going to change my opinions or make them softer. I'm going to keep saying what I've been saying. But maybe in Obama and Kamala Harris said this too. They had some good response that we need to be more civil with each other, and that includes conservatives and liberals. And a couple other things I had here. He was with Turning Point USA. That was his group, really good group, and this could be a turning point. This assassination, a political hit job, uh, because I remember, I'm just old enough to remember when Kennedy was assassinated in 1963. After that, our country changed dramatically, and almost always for the worse. Soon we had Malcolm X was shot in, I think, 1965. Then we had um, Martin Luther King in the spring of 1968, and I remember that, and Bobby Kennedy Sr. shortly after King was in June, after Bobby won the California primary, and it was just a bad time, a lot of riots and violence. And there's a book I'm reading called "The Fourth Turning Is Here." There's an original book from the late '90s called "The Fourth Turning" by Strauss and Howe, and the new one is sort of saying their predictions were true. And what they say is about every 80 years there's big turmoil with wars, and they go back to the English history in England. But just starting with America, we had the American Revolution. Then about 80 years later, fourscore and ten, as Lincoln said, we had the Civil War. Then about another 80 years, we had World War II. Killed about 100 million people worldwide, something like that. And America was involved in it, of course, emerged as the great superpower. And now here we are 80 years after World War II ended. Just had some celebrations for the end of that. My father was in the Army in World War II. My mother was a registered nurse, worked as a nurse in the industrial nursing at a tank plant in Detroit. So that was their world. And according to Strauss and Howe, there's just all these generational changes that happen. It's not numerology, nothing magical. But for one thing, people forget how horrible wars are. I mean, my father remembered, he said it took him 15 years to get rid of the stench of death that he remembered from the war. So we don't know that. We had the Vietnam War, 58,000 Americans killed, and we had these recent wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. I think about 5,000 were killed total. So we may be going down there. I hope not. But if there's something like that, at least we can do is attenuate it to make it less, and to try to make things better. That's what I'm going to try to do anyway. And also on Europe, they just lost their way on so many things. They as Kirk said, they they have they've lost their way about everything, about how to run a society, how to run a democracy, how to have elections, how to do anything. And we have some of that here, but at least we have elections. I mean, the recent have been very contentious, and certainly 2028 is going to be very contentious. But we cool down the rhetoric a little bit and mainly discuss the ideas, which is what I do. I hope I do anyway. And again, I want to stress how his bravery was the key here, because I know my father was a judge in Detroit, and every now and then at our home we would get a death threat. Some idiot would call up and say, "Oh, Judge, you're an idiot. I'm going to kill you." And he would notify the local police, and they would look into it, but not much would happen. So that's about all I want to say about this today. Just pray for Charlie Kirk and his family, his beautiful wife and kids, and like, subscribe, and comment on this. And for now, gotta go now. Till next time.